how do you make sense of a God who is good, but allows bad things to happen to good people? How do you sort through that, what seems to be a breach of justice?
Yeah, I want to hear what you will say to this too. That is such a big question, and it is one that I don't think we can fully answer, because we are talking about a great and infinite God who has this very long-term plan for a beautiful renewed creation, and he has allowed suffering to be a part of this creation. And he is the God who says he's always with us in suffering, and he is always working it together for good. That doesn't mean we can always see the good. Having said that, I think that we can sometimes get glimpses, because we hear about this and experience it ourselves over and over again. When we go through suffering, when we experience hard things, we become different people. And when God is in that and using that, we become usually stronger, more loving, kinder people. And a lot of people would say, I wouldn't want to go through that suffering again, but I also wouldn't exchange that for what I learned through that for anything. So that's kind of a little glimpse that we can get of it. But for me, really, it does come down to Jesus again. And the only response I have at the end of the day for suffering is Jesus on the cross. And whatever the reason is behind it, all of the suffering, we have a God who chose to come and live among us and enter into the very worst suffering. It says, for the joy that was set before him. And so this was something he thought it was well worth the while to go through, and I can rest with that. I bet you would add some stuff.
Well, so Yancey made that point about, well, God actually played by the same rules. You can surrender to this. And I mean, this is the, not the punchline, this is the difficult piece. And, we have couples in the church who had a little baby die, or, other kinds of grief that we just, we shudder to think about, and sort of waltz in and say, well, God knows what he's doing. That doesn't feel good either. Your relationships can be way better after. We don't mean to say those sorts of things. That's a place and Jesus told us to weep with those who weep, and just keep the answers in your back pocket. But you're right. There's these stories that we have of people who've gone through these horrific things who now look back and say, wow, I didn't actually know Jesus like I do now. And unfortunately or fortunately, I had to go through that. We know other stories where people suffer and it ruins them. They just can't absorb it. They can't swallow it. They chafe, fight, and it ruins them. But when we look back on our lives, it's usually those things where we've struggled that have grown the character. Somebody said recently that suffering may ruin your life, but no suffering in your life. It's like someone hovers around you like a helicopter parent, tries to take all the slivers out of the piece of wood for you, put it in, take all the bones out. No suffering is proven to absolutely ruin you. So that's, again, there's two responses to this.
I agree.
Yeah.